Today I wanted to go over a process that I have found to be extremely helpful and that works very well to transform your mindset. So basically to take you from a state of mindset of scarcity or lack to one of abundance, success, and growth, right? So like when you're in a scarcity mindset, I talk about this all the time, you're stagnant, you seem like you're going in circles, you're not really growing out of your existence. It's always a poor me, why is this happening to me? My life sucks, like, I have the worst luck in the world. So all of this is from created in a state of scarcity, mindset of scarcity, and lack. So that's why, the more that you stay there, the less you will have, the more you will lack, So, but when you've been there for a long time or any substantial amount of time, it becomes a part of your being. It becomes like this self-fulfilling program in your mind, and to you it's just your life. But it's a program. You programmed your mind, your brain, to stay in that state. So you believe it to be true. So it becomes true every day in your life, and it becomes everything that you see outside of you is a reflection of what's inside of you. So everything that you see just continues to prove it further, even more, right? So to go from there to here, the other side of that, which is abundance and gratitude and knowing that there's always more and expecting more, and everything that you see in your everyday life just kind of is a reassurance and reiteration that yes, there's more than enough, there's more opportunity, there's more money, there is more love, there is more whatever it is, happiness, joy, success, and then every day, your experience is extremely different than the person who is in a scarcity mindset, right? But how do you get there? That magical bridge of transformation, because it doesn't happen overnight. And, I've touched on a few ways that you can do that. But today I wanted to talk to you about the 7 steps that have proven time and time again to actually get you there step by step, to get you out of scarcity to a state of abundance, a mind state of abundance permanently. Because a lot of the times people haven't, they don't have a problem recognizing something needs to change, and they might, start developing some tools to come out of this mind state of scarcity. But many times what ends up happening is if they don't continue with the rest of the transformation process, they end up getting stuck again. Or they're like, yay, this is great for a minute, but I keep falling back in there. And every time they fall back in there, it's more exhausting to get out. So eventually people just give up. So that's what I wanted to talk about, was the process of transformation, how to transform your mindset. And I teach this in my main program, From Scarcity to Abundance. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, the 7 steps. So when you are in that state of scarcity, the first thing you have to realize is that at some point you chose this path for yourself. And I think that part is very hard for people to accept, because it's not like a self-blame. I never want anybody to blame themselves. And this is why I love this process, because it takes all that blame, guilt, shame out of the equation. Like, you actually just learn to move forward. It's not dwelling. And dwelling is also being in a state of scarcity. So because you chose it at some point, whether consciously or subconsciously, the first step to get out of it is to choose a different path. So that's step number 1. Choose. You're choosing to leave this state of scarcity. You're recognizing and acknowledging that this isn't helping you. You're acknowledging that you're here. And maybe you're also acknowledging you don't know how to get out, but you want to choose a better way. You want to choose something better for yourself. You want to choose abundance. And you can choose something even if you don't know how you're going to get there. But that's the first step. It's like you're sending that beam of light toward, that's where I'm going now, and I'm choosing that. That's the first step, number one. And in my program, I do explore with you how to choose the exercises to make that a solid choice with roots, because that's what you need. It's not just a frivolous experience. You actually have to go within yourself and choose something different, but to the point that it establishes those roots within your mind, because that's what you're trying to do. You're cultivating your mind with this whole process to actually grow and to actually develop a whole different future. So once you choose something different from where you're at, in this case, once you choose, you say, I choose abundance. I choose a state of happiness and joy and success. The second step in the process of transformation that I talk about is forgiveness. So if you've been in this state of scarcity for any period of time, a lot has happened there. A lot has happened there, and a lot of that won't be positive. Most of what happens in a state of scarcity and lack is painful, negative, hurtful, damaging. It's just what comes with the territory of scarcity, right? So, and in that comes a lot of blaming, whether it's blaming yourself or blaming somebody else outside of yourself, feeling ashamed, whether it's about yourself or somebody else, whether it's guilty, whether it's just hopeless. Like all of those emotions are just kind of like within you, shaping, your reality day in and day out, right? So, in creating this experience that is not a very happy one, over and over and over again. So, once you choose to go somewhere different, then before your first obstacle to get past is lack of forgiveness for yourself. It's like understanding. You start developing the understanding that that place that you were at, you were there because you didn't know any better, that you had the power to get out at any particular time. And sometimes what happens when we become aware of that, yes, it's extremely powerful, but sometimes it could be extremely a harsh reality to recognize that you were there out of your own doing. And that could be very difficult to deal with sometimes, right? So this is why I like to explore forgiveness almost immediately. Once you choose a different path, right away, let's start exploring things that you need to forgive. Okay, you need to forgive yourself for not knowing. You need to forgive yourself for attaching to whatever was in that state of scarcity and making your scarcity reality even bigger, right? Like you need to let go because now you're choosing something else. And let's not dwell in what happened in this abyss of scarcity, because it will weigh you down. And that's why many people end up falling back over and over and over again, right? So this is why that step is crucial to moving forward and crucial to moving ahead, crucial to getting to that state of abundance. So forgiveness is the second step. And again, I explore it deeply with my clients in my program, because it's that one, this one. If you don't get past the forgiveness, you won't be able to make it to step 3. So this is an extremely important step. So you choose, number 1, you choose a different path and you forgive and let go, so you're able to move forward. And the third step is establishing boundaries. So they're the boundaries that you're going to have to establish when you start coming out of a state of scarcity, are boundaries that you never had before. So they are going to be difficult initially to implement, especially when you're fresh coming out of something, because you have built your entire life in the state of scarcity, which means your friendships, what you're connected to, people, your network, anything that is in there, it's still going to be somewhat, attached to you somehow, wanting to pull you back. I mean, it's only natural. So you're going to have to establish some solid boundaries for yourself, to be able to detach or keep it at bay, so it doesn't affect you. And I like to do this after forgiveness, because it's a very, almost like a very raw state to be in, after, when you start forgiving certain things about yourself and your life and what has happened, what has occurred. It's a very good time to start establishing some clear and concise boundaries that are going to prevent you from falling back into that state of negativity and lack and scarcity. And again, in the program, I help you develop the boundaries based on your experience and what it is that you want to accomplish, right? So choosing forgiveness, boundaries. Then the fourth step is protection. And, people might say, well, your boundaries are your protection. Not necessarily. Your boundaries kind of just prevent you from falling back into the same pattern. Whereas protection, like that, I call it the cocoon of protection. It's almost like, because you have to go, and it's very introspective process. It's an extremely introspective process. So because you're coming out of a place, like I said, that's attached to this network and, this whole experience here, and you're establishing boundaries. When you start establishing boundaries, when you've never had them before, there's going to be people that are going to be offended, angry, upset. They might belittle you. So you have to be strong. You have to have that armor, and many people don't know how to do that, right? That's why I really spend time in teaching people how to establish that element of protection for themselves, where, things can't affect them. People can't affect them. It's extremely powerful when people's opinions don't affect you. It's extremely powerful when things outside of yourself don't take you off your square, don't take you off your path, right? So that's why knowing how to do that is part of that transformation process, and it strengthens you so much. It empowers you so much. So being able to protect yourself mentally, emotionally, is so freeing. And that's why it's such an important element of that transformation process. The fifth one that I talk about this all the time if you follow me, gratitude. So, gratitude could be used every step of the way. But the reason I put it here is strategic, because as you're developing these new tools, you've established, you've gone through your forgiveness exercises, you've developed some really good boundaries. Now, you have this self-protection armor around you. Now you can go within and just be completely introspective, and, nothing out here should be able to affect you as much anymore. So this is when your mind is in like prime condition for cultivation, right? So gratitude is one of the best ways, I always say, to get to that level of abundance, that mindset of abundance. And doing it after you've established these 4 steps, everything that you're grateful for will prepare you. You're mentally, emotionally, and it will be able to move you toward that state of abundance way faster than if you had to do it initially when you first started. So consciously beginning the gratefulness journey, gratefulness affirmations, be just every single day being grateful after you've established those first 4 steps is mind-changing and it's life-changing. Then after that, once that becomes something that you can do, just in your sleep, you get up, being grateful every single moment of your experience, that is transformational enough on its own. But that's the 5th step of getting to that abundance state that you want. Gratitude, what gratitude does is it aligns you. So that's why it's naturally the 6th step. It aligns you. So, and if you've done each step correctly, like each step builds off each other. So once you establish the gratitude within yourself, then you move on to alignment. It aligns you with the path that you chose back in step 1. And then step 2, forgiveness. Step 3, boundaries. Step 4, protection. Step 5, gratitude was kind of like making the path brighter for you, right? Gratitude is what lets you go there, what helps you stay there, what helps you recognize it and see it and actually start walking it. So the 6th step is alignment. You align with the success that you were asking for. You align with the abundance that you wanted. This is the part where you start seeing everything starts to change. You start noticing that, hey, everything's looking a little bit different. I'm meeting different people. Like I'm being presented with opportunities. So this is when things really start to shift, right? And it's all because of what you've been doing with your mental cultivation. So then after you're walking in that aligned path of purpose, the 7th step is what I call the rebuild phase. You can consciously rebuild your life. Now, you are in this aligned, abundant mentality. Everything is shifting within you. Everything is starting to shift outside of you. You're starting to create a way better experience, and you are on the path of abundance. Now you can start building it, building the life that you want, living the life that you've always dreamed of. You're no longer in that state of scarcity where my life sucks, it's horrible, and everything is nothing goes my way. It's the complete opposite when you're in a state of abundance. You're like, wow, my life is beautiful. Everything works out for me. No matter what happens, I know I'm taken care of. I'm grateful. I always have enough for my bills. I always have enough for groceries. I always have enough for what we need and what we want. It's literally night and day, right? So doing these steps, practicing them, being introspective with each step of the process will get you there each and every time. And when you get there, you will never go back there, because when you see it, especially when you see it in front of you and you're like, yeah, everything is changing, and just a few weeks before you may have been in a completely different state, but seeing the difference between yourself and how you see things outside of you, and not only how you see them but how you're experiencing them, you'll never go back. That's why I always tell everybody, if you go through this process, if you go through this program purposely and with determination, you will never, ever, ever, ever go back to that state that you were before, because you will never want to. You will never choose it again, right? So those are the 7 steps in my Scarcity to Abundance program. I do this with my one-on-one clients, but I also have a group program coming up in the spring. If you would like to sign up for that, check me out on Instagram or Facebook at Success Path Coach, and you can be put on the waiting list.